The arena was electric with anticipation as two fighters, Marcus the Hellraiser and Diego the Atomic Bull, stepped into the cage for a highly anticipated showdown. The cage doors closed and Marcus braced himself for the clash. As the bell rang, he was suddenly transported to a vastly different world, a barbarian era, where warriors battled with primal might. Confused but adrenaline-fueled, Marcus found himself holding a sword, surrounded by warriors adorned in furs, leather, and rugged armor, brandishing their weapons, swords, axes, and shields. They stomped their feet in unison, the ground trembling beneath the force of their collective energy. The ground beneath him was slick blood and gore. The stench of sweat and fear mingled with the acrid scent of burning fires. The fight started in both lives. The sudden transition left Marcus bewildered and disoriented, as his opponent, a fierce warrior with a seasoned battle stance, advanced towards him. Marcus stepped back instinctively. His mind struggled to adapt to the archaic combat style. Simultaneously, back in the modern world, within the confines of the cage, Marcus faced a different kind of crisis. His opponent, a skilled Muay Thai fighter with lightning-quick reflexes, launched a flurry of punches. The years of training and muscle memory seemed to abandon Marcus as the sudden shift in reality threw him off balance. He struggled to defend himself, unable to read the opponent's moves. Time seemed to slow down in the barbarian era as Marcus clumsily parried a blow, narrowly avoiding a direct hit. It was a fight for survival. In the modern cage, a punch landed squarely on Marcus's jaw, snapping his head back and leaving him momentarily dazed. A spurt of blood came out of his mouth and ran down his chin. The cheers of the crowd were a distant echo as he grappled with the disorienting shift between two vastly different combat realities. He yearned for the familiar rhythm of the boxing ring, but he was trapped in this perplexing dance between times. He stumbled backward once again as his opponent closed in, striking with a sword, and a searing pain erupted within him as the cold steel cut through his mouth, silencing his voice. Involuntary cries of agony escaped his lips. His mind raced, trying to recall any semblance of swordsmanship training he might have once seen or heard of. But the memory was distant, like a flickering candle in the shadows of his consciousness. Panic set in, and Marcus's opponent charged at him, trying to beat him with sheer force. Marcus blocking the attack at the last moment. Marcus was caught off guard and couldn't figure out his opponent's next move in time. The blow hit Marcus in the shoulder with enough force to send a shock through his body, leaving him catching his breath on the ground. The swing of the sword was harsh enough for the sword metal to touch the bone, and leaving a deep cut on his skin that was previously smooth. Marcus felt blood running down his arm. As the searing pain coursed through his body, Marcus crumpled to his knees, his strength waning. With desperate eyes, he gazed up at his opponent, a glimmer of hope flickering within his heart, pleading silently for mercy. In this modern world, where compassion seemed scarce, Diego, his adversary, wasted no time in getting the upper hand in their match. With fierce determination, he propelled himself forward, unleashing a devastating high kick aimed directly at Marcus's vulnerable frame. The impact was brutal, shattering any remnants of resistance within Marcus. He collapsed, once again sinking to his knees, defeated and at the mercy of his relentless foe. In barbarian times, Marcus's adversary, with a thunderous roar, lunged forward, his blade slicing through the air with deadly precision. The strike found its mark, tearing through Marcus's side and piercing his kidney. A cry of anguish escaped his lips, reverberating through the vast expanse of the heavens above. In a modern setting, Marcus feels a shiver through his soul from the serious killing intent from Diego, as if today was his execution day. The impact was devastating. Marcus's body was sent hurtling sideways, crashing against the unforgiving confines of the cage that enclosed them. Blood stained the surroundings, a grim testament to the violence that had unfolded within those walls. The medical team swiftly arrived, their urgent footsteps echoing through the corridor. They carefully lifted Marcus onto a sturdy stretcher. As they began to transport him, Marcus felt a wave of unease wash over him. Each breath became a struggle, as if the very act of inhaling had become a burdensome task. The weight of his pain bore down on him, every moment etching itself into his consciousness with excruciating clarity. The world around Marcus seemed to fade away, as if a veil had been drawn over his senses. In the midst of this disorienting haze, Marcus clung to the flickering remnants of his awareness. His mind, clouded by pain and uncertainty, fought to stay present. Yet, with each passing moment, the grip on reality slipped further away, like sand slipping through his trembling fingers. Hell has been truly raised on Marcus. During an era of barbarism, Marcus found himself sprawled upon the unforgiving ground. As he lay there, vulnerable and defenseless, a horde of ruthless barbarians descended upon his shattered body with a primal fury. With an ominous roar, the crowd closed in, their boots pounding against Marcus's body with a merciless force. Each sharp and jagged boot inflicted excruciating pain upon him, as if the very essence of agony had taken hold of his being. At that moment, Marcus's world was consumed by an overwhelming torment, his life slipping away in a haze of suffering and despair. One last question was whispered by Marcus, using the last drop of life in his body. Did I ever have free will?